Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for stopping by for another episode here at alliseeisW, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. In today's video, we'll be sharing with you the latest updates around the Bitcoin market. Most of you are wondering, from a fundamental and technical standpoint, where do we stand with Bitcoin price? Are we about to see Bitcoin break out, given the fact that it's been in this support level above 100,000 for close to about 40 days now? And what does this mean with Bitcoin through the second half of the year? Will Bitcoin start gapping up? How high can Bitcoin really go? We'll cover all the macro updates as well as really zooming in, looking at the technical analysis of Bitcoin, as well as sharing with you the latest updates around strategy, MSTR stock, with the latest updates, as well as my price predictions with where I believe potential is for strategy. Now, if you're new to this channel, first off, I would really appreciate your support with the like, subscribe, trying to reach to that 10,000 subscriber goal on YouTube. Thank you all for your continuous support. Let's begin, guys. Bitcoin news posts today. Bitcoin is at 4.7% world adoption, same as internet adoption back in 1999. We are so early. So we're looking at the Bitcoin adoption S curve. With the internet adoption, it took some time until we got to the .com 2000. That's when it started exponentially increasing. Bitcoin, it was like the birth of Bitcoin was, we started hearing about it back in like 2013, but here we're just, barely getting started as well. It's becoming more and more known. People are beginning to embrace Bitcoin. But when you think about it, 95% of the population doesn't even have cryptos in their investments right now. And at one point in the next couple of years, we're going to see this exponential increase with price of Bitcoin and the adoption, similar to the internet adoption. We're looking at this post. Bitcoin balance on exchanges hits an all-time low. Supply shock is coming, with the purple line. That's representing the exchange reserve, the amount of Bitcoin available all around the crypto exchanges. When you look at the price, I mean, it's been consistently hovering over the $100,000. I mean, there's a reason for why it's staying above $100,000. It's getting more scarce, and when it gets more scarce, where there's limited supply, by default, demand goes up, and that results in a higher Bitcoin price. But as this gets more and more depleted, where you only have about 400 Bitcoins mined every day, that's going to, pump up the price of Bitcoin when the current available Bitcoin gets, limited, and people who are interested can only buy what's being mined, on the daily basis at 400 Bitcoins production every new day. Fiat Archive posts, Robert Kiyosaki says, I focus on how many Bitcoin I own. In 2030, the probability is Bitcoin will be $1 million a coin. Now, Robert Kiyosaki, he's the creator of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, he understands it's important to look at it from a long-term scale. He's not the type who just gambles where, he's looking at it from a short-term perspective, forecasting that Bitcoin is only going to be going up. Yes, we do see volatility from a short-term perspective, but where there's volatility, there will be vitality in the price of Bitcoin to continue to trend upward. Bitcoin news posts today, one day Bitcoin will overtake gold. That was a statement from, President Trump. President Trump 2.0, we're in this golden era and we're seeing so much milestone achievements with the demand to support crypto as the United States being the powerhouse of crypto and AI. This is really a big push towards, really adopting the Bitcoin ecosystem. Ragnar posts, 11 days until June 30th, 2025, when MSTR becomes eligible for inclusion in the S&P 500 if Bitcoin stays at these levels. If Bitcoin closes Q2 at 110K, the net income of MSTR would be $15 billion in Q2 alone, melting traditional finances faces. Earliest possible inclusions September or December. So obviously we know Q2 ending is going to be happening in the next, couple weeks. And, towards the end of July, we're going to have MSTR Saylor announce the quarterly results with unrealized gains, just holding on to Bitcoin with the FASB accounting change. This is really going to push up the price of strategy as investors get really attracted to the positive, revenue generation just by hodling Bitcoin. So definitely very bullish, and this is really going to prime strategy for a big run up, just from a fundamental standpoint. Diamond Trades posts today millions in bullish MSTR call flow on 4 hour MSTY, MSTU, MSTX, Bitcoin. You see this obvious cup and handle formation just looking at strategy, while you're also seeing that same cup and handle formation with Bitcoin. So it's definitely, showing the similar, technicals when we look at Bitcoin and strategy. And once Bitcoin gaps up, strategy is just going to start running very fast. The OG Brett, he poses the MSTR range of pain from the guys that brought you the zone of sadness, coiling so tight we will explode like a bomb too soon. When this thing breaks, channels will be cooked. So most of you are wondering, most of us know who Channels is, but for those who don't, Channels is someone who's shorting strategy, and it's only a matter of time where this short squeeze is really going to hurt those who are, creating short positions against strategy. Range of pain. What do we see with every downward motion? We see an upward motion, a downward motion, upward motion, downward motion. We're just getting primed. That coil is about to bounce up, and just gonna break out of this um, range of pain. Chris Molis, he poses a wonderful visual. We'll go through that, but here's one of the key things with how we see these monopolized companies just really dominating the market. So, for example, Amazon scaled digital commerce during COVID. Amazon was like the main company that was just doing online sales and having the shipments to customers' house when no one can go around. Apple scaled digital devices. I mean, mostly half of the world owns, an Apple iPhone, along with watches and all that, part of the Apple ecosystem. Now, with Google, Google scaled digital information. I mean, Google word now is a verb. I mean, people say Google it. I mean, that just shows how powerful Google is as a search engine. Facebook, Meta scaled digital relationships. So with Instagram and Facebook, that really has transformed how we look at just social media as well. Netflix, I mean, Netflix has dominated the video entertainment space. Everyone has majority has an account where you have tons of shows and videos all through Netflix. Spotify scaled digital music. I mean, when you think about music, you think about Spotify, so monopolizing that market. Now think about strategy. Strategy is scaling digital capital. So this is really modernizing how we look at traditional finance. Do you understand what this means? Right? So we see like the Max 7 companies dominating all these. But strategy is, the new kid on the block, digitizing how we look at, capital from a long-term scale. Strategy eventually is just going to be, bypassing all of these Max 7 companies. In fact, you know, it's done so well to the point where now we're considering S&P 500 inclusion. With all of that, let's pivot over to Bitcoin technical analysis before we talk about strategy. So where we currently are right now, we're looking at the daily candle of Bitcoin hovering at 104,508 at the time of this recording. Here's one of the key things, back in May 8th, we had Bitcoin run back up, in the sunshine and rainbows time frame, getting above that Ichimoku cloud. Now, when you look at May 8th to June 19th, so we've been over the $100,000 psychological barrier, which we broke in November of 2024 for over 40 days now. This is definitely a huge upside. We want to see Bitcoin stay above 100K as long as possible. Why? Because we just want to see consolidation. before that next leg up. Here's one thing to keep in mind. Yes, in the near term, we're seeing, bearish convergence on the daily, but the good news is as we look at it on the daily chart, we're still hovering above the Ichimoku cloud. Yes, we're getting close to that, that in range of the cloud. We want to stay above the cloud. We don't want to get in between or even below that because anytime when we get below that cloud, there's potential for that gravitational pull down. But overall, we're looking healthy right now. I'm anticipating as we open up in tomorrow's market, Bitcoin may have a slight run up, but like what ChatGPT is forecasting, before the end of June, come, June 30th, Bitcoin will be somewhere around likely to be, 107,000 to 112,000. So we're likely to gap up in the last couple of days in the month of June. With Bitcoin expected to reach all-time high in the year 2025, I mean, we've had forecasts of like 150, 200, 250,000 from like Tom Lee. What does this mean for strategy? A lot of people are getting more and more impatient. In fact, people are losing confidence, moving their money into different Bitcoin plays like Meta Planet, Semler Scientific. I mean, those are some great new up and coming companies. However, when we look at pure Bitcoin treasury company, there's no second best when you look at a company based on fundamentals compared to strategy. Why? They have the biggest Bitcoin reserve right now, getting close to 600,000. No other public company can match that, along with their average costs and the fact that they've created multiple levers, trying to minimize dilution, just with different options like strike, strife, stride. That opens up another layer of opportunities to tap into that market capital, using that capital to buy Bitcoin. Really, this is a strategy that's going to really position strategies market capitalization to grow from a multi-billion dollar company to a multi-trillion dollar company at one point. But based on the fundamentals, this looks very good, with MSTR likely to get into the S&P 500 come this year. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of active investors trying to push for this change since we got Coinbase entering S&P 500, and we've seen Coinbase do so well just recently. But just based on the technicals, we're seeing, it hover in this bull flag. But I believe that we're going to get out of this prime zone and we're going to start, climbing up to the next level, get back to that prior resistance, break through that near term 400, get to that prior resistance of 550, and we're going to be off to the races this year, 2025. I'm very bullish that we're going to get above $1,000 for strategy. Mark this because it's going to be coming. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, as Bitcoin price is going to be appreciating to the $1 million by 2030. So I hope you enjoyed another episode here at All I See Is W. Let me know what your predictions are for Bitcoin and strategy, where you're watching from, what your perspective is. I'd love to hear your comments. Thank you guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.